We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast, and once again, this is going to be live. I'm recording it on Friday night, and it should air Sunday, the day of the TikTok ban, and some different things have shown up. By the time you hear this program, it may be all parsed out, maybe not. I don't know what's exactly going on at this point, but we're going to do a live. I'm going to be on the way to Georgia when this airs. So that's why I'm doing it a little ahead of time to get some sense of coverage for the podcast, even though I might not be in a position to actually do it. So we are back on TikTok Live. Did one yesterday. I'm doing one today. It seemed appropriate that we give it a shot today because there's some fucked up shit going on. And when there's fucked up shit going on, we need to address that shit. I'm going to bring in a few people right now, normal people. Well, they're not normal at all, but they are people that you regularly hear with me. We're looking at Rebecca, TJ, and Will. And we are on the TikTok Live, later to be a Rational Boomer podcast. And one of the things that compelled me to do this is the news that we got just like a half hour before this. And I'm going to have all of you address it. We know that Joe Biden decided to do nothing in order to save TikTok before its deadline on January 19th. And what he said he would do was he just wouldn't enforce the ban so they could keep doing whatever they wanted to do. And presumably Donald Trump would come in on the 20th as president and he would fix everything for TikTok, which troubled me because Donald Trump has a tendency to fuck things up. But nonetheless, TikTok came out today and said, listen, that's nice that you're not going to enforce it. We don't really trust the American government, and I wouldn't either. Just to be safe, either Joe Biden comes out and makes a definitive statement that we'll be safe, or on January 19th at midnight, we're shutting the motherfucker down. You got, no doubt you guys heard that. What was your first reaction to it? We'll start out with Rebecca.
Well, I actually, it's not surprising. Do you blame them? Like they have to, so now they have to rely on Trump to make the right decision?
Well, yeah, exactly. But you know, I was complaining about Joe Biden. This is what Democrats do all the time. They have an opportunity, a chance to be assertive. And what do? They sit on their hands and they don't do anything. And that's what Joe Biden did. He just passed the buck. You're the fucking president. Make a decision. How about you, TJ? I know you got some ideas about this.
Well, yeah, he dropped the ball on the whole thing. He could have done something to make this right, but he didn't do it. And I'm disappointed in Joe for that. I really am.
I am. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm really upset about it. Like he could have done something. He could have, he has the power of a executive order to do something, but he did nothing. Why?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a good question.
I get it that he's on his way out, and he's just saying fuck it. Like I understand that. Like that makes sense to me. Like he's just doing the bare minimum because it's his last days in office, and like that's the way it goes. I get that, but this is a big deal, and he's not recognizing that it's a big deal, and that makes me upset.
Even though
he's playing older, political games.
Even though he's older, and I feel like he probably is not on TikTok like we are, but like, are people not around him saying to him, "Hey, listen, maybe you should do something about this"?
Yeah, you would think so. You would think that with Donald Trump too, but apparently nobody gets through to Donald Trump either. Will, you obviously have an opinion on this whole thing. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's kind of ironic. We were talking about that first thing yesterday when we did the podcast. I mean, there's two things I look at. This is because I'm looking at some of the comments down here. It's like, they're saying that they won't, they're just going to take it off the App Store. No. There are a lot of creators who know people in the headquarters of ByteDance in San Francisco, and they've been told after tomorrow, don't come to work. Literally shut the lights off and leave. And there's two things I'm seeing. they're trying to force Joe Biden to make a decision before Trump takes office, and to do that, they're just going to play chicken with him because they don't give a shit at this point. They really don't.
Well, they've been playing
And
chicken
also, it
all
might be,
along.
yeah, and I think also he met with Trump, the chairman of ByteDance. He sat down and had a talk with him. And then 30 minutes ago, this decision comes out. Here we go. There's games being played in the background that he doesn't want to be part of. And honestly, all those in Congress really don't give a fuck because they don't think it's going to affect anything. They see
No.
this as fake. They see
Yeah.
this as not a viable commercial thing. They think that once it goes away, no one's going to be really effective. Also, we won't have these stupid people yelling at us and going viral with all these, weird ass shit. And that's the combination here. ByteDance is still going to be existing somewhere else, but at this point, in America, it's done. And no, I'm not going to get a VPN. I'm not going to spend money. I mean, it shouldn't be that way, and it's all done on a lie, a fucking lie. And the thing about it is that we talked about, Mike, and I'm going to bring it up. This is the slippery slope. This is a violation of the First Amendment. The government has basically set up a rule limiting free speech in America. And don't give me that national security shit. It's the same thing. You are now free speech.
Well,
What you have to understand is that in terms of the Supreme Court, every one of them voted to uphold the ban. The liberals and the conservatives. They're all culpable in this situation. It is kind of weird that it's taken this turn. And we were all mad when Joe Biden didn't make a decision. Now he's got a choice of either making a decision or letting it go dark. And who knows if he cares either way. I'm looking at a comment from Beth in the comments. She says, I think they're going to let it go dark and then Donald's going to be the hero. If that happens, I'm off. I get what you're saying, Beth. If it turns out that TikTok is seemingly complicit with Donald Trump, well, then we've got a whole different fucking situation here on TikTok.
I mean, unless he's going to be, if they come back with restrictions or rules, if he does that and Trump becomes the hero, do you think the majority of us are going to go, yeah, I now support Donald Trump? Oh, fuck no. No.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to give him kudos for it. No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to change that. We just run into some kind of weird buzzsaw that we don't know.
Well,
that just came out of the blue and punched us all.
If you're pissed off about it, everybody should write a letter to Senator Tom Cotton's office because he's the asshole who put the roadblock in the way to extend it 270 days. So write a letter.
Yeah.
Write to that asshole in Arkansas about what he did. He's the one that caused this issue.
It's no
That's just going to be
coincidence that
toilet
it was the
paper.
19th of January, right? One day before Trump's inauguration.
Right. And this is alive now. We're sitting here on the 17th, and I'm going to run this as a podcast on the 20th. So by the time the people hear this on the podcast, everything will have either shut down or something else has been figured out. So those of you listening, bear with us. But there was another rumor I heard on TikTok, and I have no reason to believe it's true, but it could be true. It sounds true when you involve Donald Trump. But apparently Michael Cohen was on some podcast, and he claims to be in the know in something like this. And he's basically saying, here you got $1 billion company in this country, and some motherfuckers want a taste. They want a percentage. And that's what's going on. Now, that sounds crazy. It might sound like a conspiracy theory, but remember, Donald Trump's involved, so who knows? Would it be too far to believe that there's some greed from corporations and the politicians, and Donald Trump for that matter, that they're basically extorting TikTok?
Well, Mike, didn't I say that on our last live? That
Yeah, yeah.
They want to taste. Donald Trump wants a piece, and all of his rich billionaire buddies want to taste. Everybody wants a little piece of the action. It's the mob. They're the mob.
Well, that yeah,
Well, the
that's
bottom line
organized
is the
crime.
whole thing is it's a business. TikTok is a business.
Yeah. Well, and it's mob activity.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm bringing somebody in here. I think it's Sifi. Let's see if she pops up here. Hey, how you doing? Is it pronounced Sifi? Hello, Sifi. Are you there?
Uh-oh.
I don't know that she's there. All right, we gave you a shot. We're going to have to let you go here. If you're requesting to be on the show, make sure you're ready to come on so we don't just leave you there hanging. I'm going to pull somebody else in here. This is Greg. We'll see how this goes. All right.
Right.
Hey, Greg, how you doing? Greg, are you there?
You're striking
Wow.
out. Mike. You're striking out.
Strike two.
I am striking out. Okay, I'm going to wait a little while before we take any more people on because we've got a couple of people that either weren't planning to come on or just weren't ready at the time. And we got shit to talk about. I want to talk more about the TikTok thing, but since we're talking to some people after the fact, I want to talk about something else. Donald Trump came out with a proclamation that his inauguration would no longer be outdoors. It's now going to be indoors. Now, I've heard a couple of places where it's going to be in an arena or in the rotunda at the Capitol. I'm not sure which, but he is bringing it indoors, and get the reason why. It's going to be so cold there. He's worried about his poor Trumplefux.
That's
yeah, well,
bullshit.
here's my
Like-
question.
That's bullshit.
Here's my question: is the $120 million he was spending for outside and fireworks and all this crap that was going on outside still being spent?
Well, yeah, that's-
I
that-
forgot
that-
about
But
that.
regardless of that, listen, this is wintertime in Washington, D.C., okay? Like wintertime here where I live, it'll be 12 degrees or 8 degrees or -7 degrees. And
Yeah, it's
we-
-4 here on Monday.
Yeah, we go on with our lives, right? It's just the way it is. The fact that it's going to be 36 degrees or whatever, I think that's what I looked at the forecast. 36 degrees on Inauguration Day is a bunch of bullshit. I don't think that it has anything to do with the cold temperature, right? Has nothing to do with that. I think that there's a security issue that the Secret Service is concerned about.
I think it's dumber than that. I mean,
Really?
there may be some security issues.
course
there may
it
be
is.
some security. There may be some security issues, and I think that's something he's going to deal with all the time he is president, because he's pissed off and scared enough people. I've said that before. I would be worried more about violence if Donald Trump becomes president than if he lost. But anyway, here's the thing. The last time the inauguration was held indoors was 1985 with Ronald Reagan. Now, the temperature outside was 7 degrees above zero. So I decided to check and see what the temperature would be in Washington, D.C. on Monday. And it says that the high on Monday will be 24 degrees. Now, for some people, that's cold, but that's not unreasonable and it's not dangerous. We live with that. Hell, on Monday here in Minnesota, it's going to be -5 for a high. So we figure a way to survive. Secondly, it seems funny to me, first of all, as far as protecting his Trumplefux, he sure didn't care about them at all when they were in 120 degree temperatures in the fucking desert and they were keeling over. He didn't
Where
care
he
about
left
them
them
then.
there.
So, yeah, he left them there. And then secondly, there's some interesting things going on in Washington, D.C. Apparently, the draw for this inauguration hasn't been quite what they expected. They were having trouble getting rid of tickets, not a big crowd. In fact,
Right, so
if
let's
you
make
go to
it a
Washington,
smaller venue.
Right.
so if you go to Washington D.C., the capacity of hotels in that town is at 70%. You've got a major inauguration coming in 2 days, and you've got 70% occupancy in hotels. Yeah, Donald's nervous about looking stupid in an outdoor inauguration. What he wants to do is he wants to go indoors where a smaller venue, as Rebecca said, he can pack it to the gills and say, oh, we had people waiting forever, but we cared about the cold people. Now the Trumplafucks are a little pissed off that he's taken this away from him. It could have been -9 out there, and Donald Trump would go out there and receive as much adulation as he could get. But now he's going indoors, and this is very curious. There could be any number of reasons why he did it, but he's afraid of something.
Well, let's talk about one thing about the coverage. I mean, the networks should cover it because they have to. But Midas Touch, as we know, said that they were going to go dark. But no, they made an announcement today. They're not going to go dark. They are going to show cat and dog videos during the inauguration for charity purposes, to help those that help going to charities in Southern California to help with pets and other charities. And I believe I don't know which brother it was, maybe it was Ben, when he made the announcement. He says, our goal is to outdraw the networks watching cat videos and dog videos instead of watching the inauguration. We already know they outdraw Fox News. We know this. This is a fact. Fox News is going bananas over it. If that's the thing, that's what I'm watching on Monday. Because I want that. I want that badly. I want that to come up. That he got outdrawn by cat and dog videos. And by the way, going on the TikTok ban, those are the reasons why the communists were taking us over. The cat videos on TikTok, fucking communist little kitties. It's all their fault.
Yeah.
You know, running around with their little red books. You know, jeez. But that's true. I'm watching it. I would like everyone to do the same on Monday. The Midas Touch on YouTube. Let's enjoy the cat and dog videos. They're probably going to do some charity work for Southern California. This would be great. I would love that for him.
Absolutely. All right, I'm going to call somebody else up here. We'll see if we get any more luck. Okay. This is Carolyn. Carolyn, are you with us? Hello, Carolyn. Oh, now you guys are disappointing me. I've had people request to come on.
We're
I've had
striking
people
out
request
tonight.
to come on.
We're striking
Wow,
out.
that's trouble. That's troubling. I don't know. It's probably some TikTok technical issue because they're wrapping up cables right now and getting ready to get the fuck out of Dodge. I don't know. Anyway, so this inauguration thing, Donald Trump is truly troubled about something. And like Rebecca said, there's got to be some security issues too. I mean, with all the things going on and how terrified people currently are, it's not crazy to imagine people resorting to crazy things. Not in great groups, but the lone nuts, like we see with the Republicans. Trust me, the Democrats and the liberals have some lone nuts too, and that's a serious concern.
People are saying
Anybody?
President Musk doesn't like the cold.
He's from South Africa. I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah.
I mean, the hardest thing, and I was talking to TJ because before we came here, I did a small live. I mean, the disappointment I have in my country since the election, or even before the election, is just amazing. As I see here, it's the 20th is Martin Luther King Day. By the way, TJ, I hope you got a hold of that loser saying that Martin Luther King had committed a crime. Would he have a celebration? I saw that. And it's just kind of ironic that on the day of his celebrating all his works and his life, that we have the biggest racist taking control of the country, whose main goal is to go after people of color to save the country. I've heard that shit before. I thought we
Well,
were over it.
that's
We're
so
not.
true. That's so true.
And you
Yeah,
people voted for it. You people voted for it. You voted that. Oh, by the way, how's your price of eggs right now, motherfuckers? Enjoying that? How's that working for you?
Well, hold
I
on,
mean,
Will. Hold on. It's still Joe Biden's fault. And it's going to be Joe Biden's fault next year, and the year after, and the year after that, and the year after that. It's always going to be Joe Biden's fault.
yeah. I mean, that's what Republicans and Trump-la-fucks do all the time. They just play the victim and blame somebody else. They've done it for 8, 9 years now, and they're going to continue to do it. I'm going to try one more guy. This guy I've seen before. We'll see if he comes up. I'm getting a little frustrated right now, but okay. Let's see here. I'm not getting him. Let's see.
I have a question. Is his like big party before the party still happening?
I don't know. That's a
probably.
good
I heard
question.
it is still
That's a
going
good
on.
question. That's a good question. Okay, we're going to try this. Liz, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, thank fucking
Yay!
God.
Yay! Yay!
Uh,
I'm
yeah,
just,
because
I'm
we
just,
tried.
I'm just joining y'all, and so I might not be doing this correctly, but what I wanted to say, it's ironic also that the inauguration is happening on Martin Luther King Day, but the
Yeah,
reason that person first became a president was our country's reaction to having a black president for 8 years. He was the
agreed.
whitest white man that they could figure out to find. And it is so sad that he's actually able to return. And that is what is so terrible, is that we really have not changed that much. Not only do I also believe that there was interference and all of that, it's just such a sad commentary on where we're at as a
When you see
country.
what's going on, Liz, I've said this to people, and people have looked at me aghast. It's hard to be proud of this country right
Very
now.
much so.
The ignorance, the racism, the
Yes.
misogyny, the anti-Semitism. I mean, it's the worst of the worst
Mhm.
everywhere you turn.
And the fact
And
that
then these
everybody's so
people,
open about it now.
And also now they're
yeah,
going to try to take TikTok away because they don't want us talking to one another.
No, they don't want the
Yeah.
spread of free flow of information.
Exactly.
We have power on TikTok. We have power here.
Yeah. Well, if you go back into history, look at the Greek city-states. They kept all the city-states divided so that nobody could talk to one another and nobody knew what was going on. So there couldn't be any unison against the powers that be.
yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. They had the seven hills, and
100%.
they were separate.
Yeah, it's funny now that people are going over to that red note, and I don't think I will. It's interesting. The Chinese have now said we're going to separate the Americans from the Chinese people because as much as the Americans don't want that crosstalk between other countries, they want to perpetuate their legends about other countries. America doesn't want to see Chinese and talk to them individually. They just want us to hate them because of their government. And the same is said for China to America. It's about divide and conquer, and this is what our government and this country has been doing since its inception.
Well, I think that terrifies both governments. It terrifies the United States government, and it terrifies the Chinese government.
Yeah,
Because ever since this thing went down and people have been signing up for Red Note, like Chinese nationals are talking to American citizens, and American citizens are talking to Chinese nationals, and they're sharing information, and that's scary for both the Communist Party and for our country too.
The Chinese
yeah, it
government.
really.
I have a lot of employees that are Chinese, and they go back to China for a month or 2 months at a time. And I know the Chinese government, especially like during COVID, the Chinese government did not release the fact that COVID was a thing for months and months and months and months and months until they had to because
Mhm.
there was no other option for them. Like the Chinese government is very tight-lipped, and you can't go to China and use Google. You can't go to China and use a lot of different websites. Like that's not a thing. They're very tight-lipped. They keep everything very, very tight-lipped there.
Well, guess what? I think that's where we're going to go too. It just doesn't seem like we're going to have the same amount of freedom of speech as we have enjoyed for many years.
Well, I will tell you
It's
one
a
thing.
slippery slope.
You can shut down an app. You can shut down an app, but you can't shut up the people. We're kind of like water. We will find a way, one way or another. TikTok isn't the end all app, isn't the end all option. There are other places. It may not be the same, but the people need to continue to talk and be loud. That's our only weapon against this government, is to be loud and carry the narrative and public opinion.
Well, we're the
They
great
are
experiment,
pressed.
Right.
Yeah,
That's a
great
very
experiment.
good point. Liz, that's a very good point. I mean, they're talking about shutting down TikTok like for good. Now, TikTok's international. So we have in America, 170 million people
Yeah.
on TikTok?
right.
So that's just America and it's international. But my guess is how often do you see TikTok videos that are in Chinese?
Right.
Never.
I'm sure the Chinese government does not allow that already.
Right.
So some of these larger countries already do that, are dictatorships. They do not allow that already. So
That's what
America.
Yeah. That's what that's
is
my
huge.
my point is, we are the great experiment, but yet we could be looking at a new world order in our own country. And if we don't continue to find a way, like you said, like water through the rocks, we will not be any different from other countries that we talk about. Oh my God,
Yeah.
can you believe what happened? They don't have any rights, and they don't have this, and they don't have.
Right.
It's a very slippery slope, and you're just 2 degrees of separation.
There's
and
one
another
thing that
that
I'm sorry, Mike. I'm
there's
sorry,
one
real
of-
quick. What we talked about last night is that you and I talked about it. Everyone's got to understand this. There is no political solution to this. There's no political solution. No one in Congress is going to help us. No one in the White House is going to help us. The judiciary is lost. As Mike said, we have to be loud and stay together.
100%.
What I want to say about this TikTok shutdown. Now we're live now. We're sitting here on Friday night on the 17th, and we're wondering what's going to happen on the 19th. This is going to be recorded and be on a podcast that airs on the 19th. So by the time those people hear it, we will know what has happened. But I want people to understand, if Joe Biden does something and saves it at the last minute and says, okay, I'll give you an answer, there is a delay put on this, it'll be 90 days. Be prepared for this to be exactly like the funding bills and the continuing resolutions. They'll take it to the last minute of the last day and they'll extend it a little farther, or they'll do this. Just because we get to stay on Sunday doesn't mean it's always going to stay on. It's just going to be pushing the goalpost back. So that's why we have to fight when we can. And if we can't do it here, we have to do it other places. People ask me all the time. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Substack now, and I am on Lemonade. The only reason I'm on Lemonade is because I did it one time long ago. I pulled it up and I had a ton of followers, so I thought, well, I better do something there. But
Well,
people will find a way.
It's like 90% of the other things that we talk about. They push everything to the 11th hour every single time. Every single time they do
It's-
that.
They have a flair for the dramatic. There's no question about
The
that.
ultimate cliffhanger.
Everything.
I'm still thinking that the date
Hollywood
is the
script.
19th because they're going to extend it so that Trump can save it. So he can be the freaking hero and save it.
Which makes me puke in my mouth, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Liz, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
and
Thank you
have a great night, folks.
You too.
Stay strong. Keep the faith.
And, Li-
Keep
and
your
Liz,
mouth
the TikTok isn't
and open.
absolutely. And check us on YouTube if we're shut down on Sunday. All right. Thank you very much. That is Liz. Some great points, some great insights. And when I can get them to answer, we get some pretty good people out here from time to time. And I think it's important people have a chance to talk. You know, it's one thing. It's one thing when I do the podcast. It was just me at first, and I realized it's great if I can talk and get a crowd and whatever. But it's really important for people who are involved have an ability to talk too. I just pulled somebody else up. Name is Mossy Cat. Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me.
Good.
I
Thank
remember
you.
seeing
Two in a
you a
row.
long
That's
time.
great.
You've been on TikTok a long time.
Yeah, for about 4 years, a little more than 4 years.
Yeah.
Just getting older every day. What's on your mind today, Mossy?
Well, it's going to be a big crap sandwich, and we're all going to have to take a bite. And I say to the Democrats, stand down, stand back, don't whine, don't try to impede, just uh, suck it up. He'll do all the work for us. Look at the crazy people who's already putting in there, these misfits and scumbags. And what we need to do is be like a solidarity, and we need to like start a like a sort of a like a resistance. You know how they kind of did Obama? They stopped him from legislating. The Koch brothers did the town hall meetings, and what sprouted out was that Tea Party movement. And we need to get
Right.
something similar to that because Trump doesn't have an administration. It his is not. We can't call it an administration. His is going to be in a regime, the Trump regime, because of
Yeah, you're right.
these people, and that's because he has a fascist movement, and it's an authoritarianism, or some people call it tutorism, and tutoritarianism. I can't really say that, but we need to like build solidarity and to uh, build bridges, not walls, and to have rallies, open field rallies in this spring. And we need to just, fight the repression that's going to be caused by Trump. It's
Well,
going to be,
Mossy,
huh? He's going to do away
Mossy, you
with
said,
LGBT rights that Biden put in to
well,
protect these people. Uh, and, uh, and and this it's going to be similar to a fascism, an American style fascism movement with the Trump
well,
regime.
well, well, Eric and I have talked about this before, and so we've talked to these guys too. People are under the impression that Donald Trump can step into office, he's a king, and he can do whatever he wants. Things have to get through Congress, and that's another story
He has
because
checks
some
and
people,
balances.
No, no,
yeah,
he
yeah, he
doesn't
has checks and
legislate
balances.
anything. He doesn't work on the other side of the aisle. He never did in the first time he was president.
Yeah, but Mossy,
He's
he's
got
going
the
to have
Supreme
that
Court.
problem. He's going to have that problem here because in order to move anything forward, he has this. What does he say? He has this big bill that he wants to pass. He has to. He has to get. He might get it through the House, maybe, right? But when it goes to the Senate, he's going to have big problems in the Senate because he needs 60 votes. So that means Democrats have to vote for it. So
He's not
that's
Yeah.
where
going to
he's
go
going to
through
have
the
the
Senate. He's going to
problem.
bypass. He's going to bypass congressional approval.
How's he going to do?
Whoa.
How's he going to do
That's
that?
No, that's
That's
not
not
good. You
possible.
can't do
He's
that.
going to purge the national security offices like
No,
he
he
Let me,
purged
can't.
the,
He can't do
the
that.
hey
FBI.
That's one
guys,
thing.
Do you know who this guy is? Do you have any fathom what he
let me,
is? He's going to reverse
let
all the
me
energy
kind of,
programs and the civil rights protection that the LGBTQ people, and he will overwhelm these changes. It's going to be like a shock and awe.
No,
Well,
he can't
yeah,
just run
And it's a
roughshod.
very
He
eerie
actually
picture.
has.
I
He
mean,
has to
no,
follow
he
channels.
doesn't legislate. He'll do away with the
yeah,
legislation.
let me say something in defense of Mossy. And you guys know, so let me kind of put it out there. The Supreme Court has been his buddy for a long time. Okay? To me, the banning of TikTok is an attack on the First Amendment. The
Yeah.
Supreme Court unanimously attacked the First Amendment. If Trump goes through with an executive order, and let's say his biggest goal is to repeal birthright citizenship, saying that the executive order for the 14th Amendment, everyone here knows you can't change an amendment without an amendment. But if he does it, and his lawyers present it to the Supreme Court, that's what could happen. I see Mr. Massey's point in the sense that we are in a world where we have lost the judiciary as a checkpoint.
Right.
That if he does it and he presents it to the Supreme Court, something that we know should be, oh hell no, could be considered. That's a fear. I'm not going to dismiss
We
it.
have the House and the Senate.
Hold on. Let me just say something here. Here's a mistake that Democrats make all the time. Donald Trump says something, and for whatever reason, you believe it's absolutely true. You understand you're talking about a pathological liar who does nothing but lie. And if you're worried about what he's going to do or what he can do, let's go back to the first term. What did he do? He gave rich people a tax break, and that's all he accomplished because he doesn't have the power, and he's incompetent. To be terrified of all the horrible things he can do is missing the point. You aren't watching what's going on. Donald Trump is incompetent. That he will do some fucked up shit. Many of it might be temporary because Congress will change it. He can set an executive order, but Congress can change it if it's too punitive.
That's my point.
Don't believe the shit that Donald Trump tells you. You can't believe anything Donald Trump tells you. Just because he says it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
And that's my point, Mike. Is that he can make executive orders that are unlawful, and maybe the Supreme Court will settle on his side. I doubt it. You know, if they're truly unlawful, they're going to look like fools. They're not going to do that. You know, a couple things that are in the gray area, maybe they'll side on the side of Trump, but he can't legislate from the presidency. And that's what I'm trying to convey to Mossy Cat is that, yeah, there are still a couple guardrails to stop Donald Trump from having his complete agenda. He has to get 60 votes in the Senate to pass anything. And if it's crazy, Democrats aren't going to vote for it. So he's shit out of luck.
Not to beat a dead horse for the 1,000th time, but these people want to keep their jobs. Like, they want to be reelected. So they're not going to vote for his bullshit just because it's Trump. He's nothing now. He's a dead horse. Like,
he's a liability. He's a liability to the Republican Party.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but again, my biggest, and again, I'm not being, I don't want to be the one to be the paranoid one, but when everything was going through the courts and Trump was about ready to be literally charged with going on January 6th, his lawyers threw presidential immunity and threw it at the Supreme Court to see if it stuck on the wall. Not only did it fucking stick in the wall, it's now canon. They literally broke the equal balance of the three branches with that. So what I'm saying is, yes, there are some guardrails left, but a lot of them got ripped down in 2016 and 2020. Right now, if he takes something to the Supreme Court, I mean, the Supreme Court is about to get a case saying that school districts can ban children from reading books about gays. They are taking this up. And you see what I'm saying? Yeah. This is the biggest fear I have, guys. I'm not dismissing what you're saying, but to dismiss the idea that the Supreme Court might go, sure, do whatever the fuck you want. That's a fear. And it's got to be there.
Well,
it's hard to imagine.
They're going to rob the Treasury is what they're going to do. That's why he wants these tariffs. He wants to build up in the Treasury.
Mossy, you're saying they're going to rob the Treasury. Tell me how they're going to do that. Because you can say whatever you want. Here's the thing, Mossy and Will. I will tell you this. Everything the Republicans do is based on fear. And if they're making you afraid, they're fucking beating you.
No, I'm not afraid.
You're letting them.
I want to watch them.
Well, yeah, you are.
No doubt about it. But don't forget.
Yeah, no, it's not fear. You got to prepare for the worst.
But who's going to
expect the
best?
best?
The FBI's already purged it. The national security system, the checks and balances are gone with them. That's what I'm saying. And
they aren't gone. How did he get rid of the check? How did he get rid of the checks and balances without even being in office?
He's going to fire a lot of people in the national security offices. He's going to purge the FBI by laying off people, early retirements. He's going to do things that are unimaginable, just crazy shit.
Well, let's
He's going to
Mossy,
turn
this
our democracy,
let's be
which is
clear. Let's
into
be
a
clear about the Treasury. Okay,
authoritarianism rule.
let's be clear about the Treasury. The Treasury has basically two functions: they collect taxes and they pay bills. That's all they do. They can't do anything else. They can't funnel money to anybody. They can't do any of that shit. All they do is collect tax money and they pay the bills of the federal government.
Well,
That's it.
right.
Well, he's going to like stop funding for a lot of programs that he don't like. He could do that, and he's got the power of the House.
It's not
Ways
up to
and Means
him.
Committees.
It's not
And
up
that
to him.
committee writes tax codes. That committee also has tariffs.
Mossy, you are terrified, and I'm sorry that you're
I'm not
terrified.
terrified. I'm just
because
telling you the worst that
Yes,
can
you
happen. I'm
are.
going
There's
to
a
sit
lot of
back and I
things
want him
he
to
does
crash and
not make
fall.
the decisions on. He's not the supreme being of the world. He's not. He wants to be a dictator, but he's not. Like, there's so many things that like he can't do
Well,
without
you'll see when he gets
the
inaugurated. The
House, the
next
Senate.
day, he's going to have a blizzard of
Hey, Mossy, you want to
executive
bet? You want to
orders.
bet?
He's going to have a
You
blizzard
want to
of
bet that he?
executive orders. You can put
But
that
he
to the
cannot.
bet.
He
He's
executive
going to
orders only extend so
he's
far.
going to
He
do
can
away
only
with
do
the
certain
Affordable
things.
Care Act. You can put that down in the bank right there. He's going
No,
to
he
get
can't.
the Medicaid.
No, he can't.
He
Mossy,
can't.
come on, for
No, he
Christ's
cannot.
sake.
Well, you'll see. You'll see.
Well, Mossy,
His
I
last
can't convince you
presidency,
otherwise.
he took 100 and something million. He took no, it was like 100 and something billion out of the Affordable Care Act.
I'm sorry that you're so
He purged out
scared
of it
about Trump being
on
president,
his
but there's a
first
lot of things he
presidency.
cannot do that you're terrified about.
I'm not terrified.
Mossy, you sound.
I've been studying
But
politics for
Mossy,
40 years.
You
I was
sound like
drafted
you're
in
terrified.
1971. I'm 100%
when is
VA
this?
today. And I've watched how they did Obama, how they stopped him from legislating. That's what we got to do, the same type of thing. They used
We do
this
have
Tea
to do
Party
that.
movement to do that, and it was successful doing it. Except for
You're talking about you're talking about things that might happen, and I think you're hoping they happen because you think it'll burn him down. Here's something I know for sure,
Well,
Mossy. In his first term, he got up at 11 o'clock in the morning and did 2 rounds of golf every day. When
yeah, I
is he
know.
going to have time for this fucking blizzard?
Well, don't forget he's a little bit more smarter. The guy doesn't know anything. He never learned anything at
He's
school.
not
He paid his
smart.
teachers off.
Definitely not
He
smart.
doesn't know anything about history. He only knows and he bankrupt 40 companies, and he
Yeah,
never listened to his management and his presidency. He didn't listen to his advisors either. And he had some good people in
but
there.
now,
He fired them, but
but now you're saying,
he's been around. I remember him when he was on Phil Donahue's show. He was suing
yeah.
the city of New York City, and he sued him and won. He was on the Dinah Shore, Cabot, Carson. He was always whining. He never changed. This guy's never changed.
Yeah,
He's
and
a,
then
Mossy,
he
Mossy.
become
he's the best
34th
con artist this
time
planet
president.
has ever seen. He was successful in doing something the GOP could never do, and that's recruit over 50 million people. And I know a whole lot of people in Texas that never voted before, never could care less until he come along. They all got registered. He's got a huge amount of power with these people behind him. There's 75 million people voted for him, and he recruited these people. Fox groomed them, and that's his power. These people.
But Mossy, hold on a second. Mossy, you have
Yeah.
to understand one thing. Donald Trump did not run for president because he wanted to be president. He
Yeah,
ran
stay
for
out of jail.
president
No,
to
he
stay
ran
out
for
of prison.
president because he doesn't want to be a felon.
He ran for president to stay out of prison. That's the sole reason. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about me. He
And,
doesn't
and
care
it
about
Yeah, I
works.
know all
the
that.
American worker. He doesn't care about any of those things. He's going to play golf for 4 years and pretend like he's doing something, and it's bullshit. He just ran for president because he knew he was fucked because he was going to jail.
And he's a lame
Yeah.
duck to his freaking party right now. Like he's nothing. Like he's outlived his welcome to
I
everybody.
guarantee you we're going to go to war with Iran. He's already been threatening it.
Okay.
And that
Okay.
Yahoo
Okay,
dude,
Mossy.
No,
huh?
that's not a thing.
That
Mossy, you
Yahoo
seem
guy over there
convinced.
in Israel
You,
wants us to go to war
you,
with it. He always did.
Mossy, you seem convinced that the end of the world is coming. I worry about you. I appreciate you calling in,
No,
but
I'm
I'll
just
be
saying.
honest with
I,
you.
I
If
study
you want,
politics. I've never seen the guy. Have you
well,
ever seen anybody like this guy? What J6? Look what he did at J6. He sent these people in there to him,
I know
Nancy,
this. I know this.
and his own
But
vice
here's the
president.
thing.
And who was in charge over there? Nobody. Nobody was in charge. Biden could have had him arrested 2 days later. Miss Cheney stuck her neck out and had that committee and proved he was 100% responsible for
How
that.
could
A lot of
Biden
people
have him
got
arrested on
hurt. One guy
January
lost his
6th?
eye, another guy broke his
600?
leg, and it was a horrible event.
Oh
Mossy,
my God.
we don't have to
Yeah,
recount all this. We all know this stuff. You don't have to try to make your
nobody was
point.
in charge
To,
of DC. This Merrick Garland is a pussy.
oh,
He didn't even.
he is a pussy.
It's a mess. The
My
Democrats is
God.
he's in office because the Democrats are weak and pathetic, and Joe
My
Biden could have
Okay,
done
okay.
something about this guy. They're afraid to arrest
Mossy,
him. But other people got
I'm gonna let
arrested.
you. I'm gonna let you go because I got to get some other people
All
on
right,
here. I
okay.
appreciate you
All
calling
right.
in, and I hope you're
Sorry about
100%
going
wrong, and I
on.
think you are.
I mean, this is frustrating. They have this guy. This is insane.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
oh
I
geez,
don't know
my
if he,
Thank God.
I don't know. I don't know if
No,
he's a Trump-a-fuck or just a terrified Democrat. But Jesus
terrified
Christ, you're
conspiracy
playing
theorist.
you're playing into everything that Donald Trump wants. The fear. He's making
Exactly.
him out to be some mastermind while he's saying he's a dumbass.
oh,
Well, which
he's.
is it?
I don't think Trump's a mastermind. There's just a lot of stuff that's changed in 2016 that is different now, and the people that are with the original people in 2016 were all Republicans that got on the board, but they saw what he's doing. They did a lot of stoppage. There's a lot of people around him are going to let him. They're going to do a lot of stuff. And one thing about Congress, there's already bills to remove Medicare, to cut the ACA. There's already bills moving through Congress. It's going to be a fight, guys. I mean, they may stop him, may not. There are a lot of Democrats in the Senate that want to cooperate because they're afraid of something, and I don't know what it is. They don't want to stop it. They want to just kind of get along, and that worries me. That is a concern. We have to acknowledge it.
Well, here's the thing, Will. We do have some weakness on the Democratic side. But if we take the attitude of, oh my God, he's going to overwhelm us, we give him exactly what he wants. Democrats can be weak, but we can't be weak. And as much as I like Mossy Cat, when he says the things he says, that comes off to me to be weak. You're giving up. You're not going to do anything. It's inevitable that Donald Trump is going to do this. And I say that's absolutely
That's what I'm saying. No, I don't agree. We're going to burn. You cannot let it burn down because once you let it get to a certain point, you can't come back. You can't do that. I'm hoping that someone finally stands up and in the Senate and goes, no to you, no to you, no to you. You know why? Because a single senator can do that. That's what I'm hoping for more than anything, because they have that power. I want someone to stand up on the Senate floor and going, I'm blocking Pete Hegseth. I am blocking this. I am blocking that. I mean, fuck. Tommy Stupeville did that for 2 years with ranking members of the military. Why can't
Yeah.
Democrats do the same? And I don't want it to burn down. What I want is someone to get a set of balls to stand up and going, oh, fuck no. And I have the power to do it. But what I keep hearing from the Senate and senators is they all want to get along with people who would backstab you the minute you turned your back on them. That's a concern. I don't want it to burn down. I want someone to stand up and say, hey, fuck this. Because when that doesn't happen, then it's going to be on us at that point.
Well,
I
at this
totally
point, it's
agree with
already on us. It's already on us. To trust the Democrats to do the right thing or the tough thing is just a waste of time because we've been trusting them for 4.5 years or 8 years and they haven't come through. They failed at every turn because they have shown us they're weak. that doesn't mean I'm going to give up. And we're able to do some things by carrying the narrative and by using public opinion. We've seen it with the TikTok thing. We've seen it with Blue Cross Blue Shield. We can make a difference, but people got to stop sitting on their ass and saying, "Oh, somebody else will handle it." You got to fucking talk, even if what you do is a little bit. You got to do something.
I mean, I just don't want everyone to dismiss that. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to go down with a fight. I mean, I'm not afraid of it, but do not dismiss that because we've seen it happen. I mean, you can't dismiss that. That's what I'm saying. Now, is he
I
taking
will
it too
tell you,
far, the last guy? Yeah, but I'm not going to go that far. I'm just being prepared.
I will tell you this, and this is just me personally, and I may be dead wrong, but I don't care. Um, when I see somebody who wrings their hands, clutches their pearls, and says, "Oh my God, it's coming. There's nothing we can do about it," they piss me off because they've already given up. And if you've given up, you're of no help in the effort going forward. If you don't have some kind of hope or some kind of confidence that something can be done, what the fuck are you even talking about? Sit in the corner and wait for it to be over.
Right?
Exactly. That's why I
No,
always say, cautious, not scared.
Right. Cautious
I
and
agree.
maybe a little angry.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, again, there's going to be in the end no political solution because for some reason, they think that capitulation is going to work for them on a Democratic side. They are convinced they will not give in to that the reason that the election was lost through is misogyny and racism. Democrats don't see that. They keep thinking they got to change the message. No, you got to stand up to them. The message
Yeah.
was good. It's just that we had the wrong person running it. And I'm sorry, Joe Biden should have told, and we said this last time, Mike, Joe Biden should have told Nancy Pelosi to go fuck yourself because I'm going to say it straight up and no one may like it. The old white guy would have won.
Yeah,
The
Yeah,
old white
probably.
guy would have
right.
won.
You're right, because the black woman cannot.
Hey, look.
Yeah, apparently
Hey,
not.
look. Eric's here. He's not wearing pants.
Yeah, I brought Eric in because I was pretty sure he was the one guy I could bring in that won't piss me off.
Yeah,
So
right. And he's not wearing pants.
Wait, Mike, are we pissing you off?
no, I'm talking about the other guy, Mossy Kate. And don't get me wrong, I don't hate the guy. The guy seems like a nice, intelligent guy, knows his stuff. I just don't like the fact that he's got this fatalistic attitude. I take umbrage on anybody that does that because it's like you're giving up and you're kind of hopeful that it'll happen so that you're right. Just mark my words, this is going to happen. There's going to be a blip. Don't
No.
tell me that shit. Tell me what you're going to do.
Yeah, basically, look, what his thing is that they're going to burn the house down. I'm watching them burn the house down, so I'm not going to put water on it. Well, fuck no. I mean, I'm going to try to stop the arsonist. If I can't stop the arsonist, I'm going to try to stop the fire. That's
exactly.
what I'm not going to do, is let it burn down.
Yeah.
Eric, what do you got on your mind?
Well, with what Will was just saying about Biden winning, I think Joe Biden would have won, but I think for a different reason. I don't think it was as much. Now, there was some racism and misogyny in there, don't get me wrong. But I think
Definitely.
one of the things is Joe Biden wouldn't have spent the last 3 weeks of the campaign palling around with Liz Cheney. He would have said, thanks
True.
for the endorsement, but we're going our way, and he would have stuck to message. And I think Kamala Harris listened to some bad advice from people around her that said, we can get a bunch of the Republican vote if we stay with Liz Cheney. And a pure bipartisan will bring them into the fold and we'll just blow Trump out of the water. It's a guarantee. And I think she got bad advice. And she stuck with it, where I think Biden would have been an old school politician and he would have went, tying us to the Cheneys, it'd be thanks for the endorsement, maybe 1 or 2 events at best, and, move on, and stuck to message.
Yeah. It's. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rebecca.
No, I agree with that. I think that Um, Liz Cheney was kind of the death of the campaign for her, sadly.
Well, it pretty much took out the progressive left. They
Yeah.
couldn't stand for that.
Liz
But
Cheney to all of us is like we look at her as like the devil's spawn, and and she, took, and I know she was like, I'm gonna vote for Kamala, and I'm for Kamala, but that doesn't make the things she's done in her past
But
any less significant.
if you're a
yeah,
progressive and you didn't vote for Kamala Harris because because she's taking the support of Liz Cheney, that is weak. Because you saw what the other side was, and you see what's
Will,
going on now. That's an
Will,
excuse.
Will, you have to remember, people are not that voted are not on our level. They're not as active in
they're
politics.
stupid.
They're not as educated as we are in politics.
Mike hit
They,
the nail on the head. They're stupid.
yeah. I don't
Yeah,
want
they're
to say. I
stupid.
didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say they're
I'm
stupid.
saying
Misinformed.
it. I'm saying
That's
it.
Well, I
misinformed.
tell you what, I'm bringing somebody else in who we've talked to before, and I know she's reasonable, and she won't piss me off either.
Yay!
I think your name is Joanne. Is it
Yes, it
Joanne?
is. Yes.
Hey,
Hey,
Joanne, welcome.
Joanne.
Hey, how
Hi,
you guys
Joanne.
doing? I think there's a couple of points that you all are making that can really go either way because we have no evidence to support any of our suppositions, right? We're assuming a lot of things based on our experience.
On what?
I'm going to go through some of the items.
Okay.
Um, I'm going to work backwards because Cheney is who you were last speaking about. People who are older or on the cusp of being older, which would say Gen X, on the cusp of Boomer, right? Some of us remember her father and the
Yeah,
evilness that he possessed. We
yeah.
remember what family she came from, and we were not pleased to see her everywhere.
Hence why I
So
call her the spawn of Satan.
yeah, okay. I don't want to
The
call names.
Antichrist.
I don't want to call names. I just want to get to the facts. Uh, Liz Cheney represents that Cheney family, and she voted one for every single thing that Donald Trump put into Congress while she was there, while he was president. So that means that
Agreed.
she supported his policies, his thinking, and him personally. Now, J6 was a different situation because she was supposedly holding up constitutional correctness, right? When Kamala brought her in, Kamala, she basically was saying, this is another woman. She wasn't saying this is a Republican that I'm bringing in to show you that they're leaving the Republican Party support because they don't want to be in the party anymore. I think incorrectly she assumed that this was a female ally, right? A political
Right.
female ally. And that was a bad choice. I did not like that from the beginning. She's still a Cheney. She's still a ultra conservative Republican. She never denounced her party. She never denounced Trump personally. She never denounced political policy from the Republicans. So,
Totally agree.
excuse
Yep.
me?
I totally agree.
Yeah. So that was the Cheney story. So I think it's a mix. But I think really what Kamala was thinking is she's a female and she's on our side for this election, and we can use more female energy and power. And I think that was wrong. The second part of that, when they forced Biden out, and I believed it while it was happening up until the moment he said he was going to step down, that he was absolutely forced out of that candidacy. So that issue in and of itself immediately put us at a disadvantage because now you substitute, as someone else said, I think it was Binder said, a woman of color. Now she's in two negative categories as far as these voters are concerned. Two, not just a woman like Hillary was, she's also now a black woman. So now you put two negative categories in place of an old man who's just old. He's an old boy network white politician guy from the old days, and he would have been a better match for Trump. And that was one of their biggest mistakes. I was happy to vote for Kamala. put all my effort in supporting her once she got the candidacy, wanted her to win with all my heart and soul because she represents the Democrats. But I would have voted just as hard or harder for Biden. And I think
And
that
the
was,
other thing too,
wait, one more
to
thing. And then
piggyback on you.
one more thing,
I'm
one
sorry,
more
ma'am.
thing. So that was the Biden mistake. And then the third thing was to go back to the beginning, and Binder was talking about some of that, was there is a difference between capitulation and fighting, obviously. But the idea that the American public was strung along from the night of the election and the next day when she gave her, her concession speech, right? Very few words, smile on her face, like she had just, Cheshire cat grin, like she had something up her sleeve, something they were going to pull out of their ass, and they never did. And we passed soft target after soft target after soft target, and they did absolutely nothing. And insult to injury was when they spoke right before Thanksgiving, giving people some kind of feeling that there was going to be a hopeful message there, and it fell flat. Because if you looked at Wallace's face when he opened on that Zoom call, you knew this was not going to be good. And they went on to keep dropping these little hints, these little conversations, like they had something in the works and we were to be patient. AOC did it as well. Hakeem did it as well. And they did the public, especially the Democrats, an injustice to string us along, believing that we should believe they were going to do anything. And that's where they're losing the support of the party now, of the American people, because they've disappointed us time after time after time just since November. Forget about all the other disappointments. And then Biden goes and throws a monkey wrench in it at the end. So we've lost all faith in the Democratic Party ever coming to our rescue, doing anything right. We've got a Jack Smith report. We had two people, Singh and Spoonemore, giving us data reports about the election. We've got evidence piling high and no one speaking to it, doing anything about it. They didn't even come out so much as to say, look, we got nothing here. So you're all on your own. Because if they would have at least given the people that little vindication to say, you're right, we're not coming to help you because we cannot. Okay, people would feel differently right now. People are hoping. I see people online are still telling fairy tales that they believe still on Monday something's going to happen.
Nothing's going to happen.
I agree.
And nothing's going to happen. And all you're doing is causing emotional stress and distress to the people who are so frightened, so terrified, so petrified about what they're going to be facing. And these are realities that they're being threatened by, that there is still hope when there is none. And I fear, and this is now only my personal opinion, I'll bring it down a couple octaves. I fear that we are going to experience the loss of aliveness by people, that it's not going to be because of a civil war, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
I think people are that scared. Their backs are up against the wall. TikTok has been banned. Incomes have been taken away from people. They were barely surviving before. So now you've taken the very last thing people had to communicate one another, to commiserate with one another, to get support from one another, to make an income to supplement their lives, to have any positiveness left. And I think this is going to be the PTSD of the century.
Okay. So I will say this, and I think I discussed it with Mike yesterday. We should all take time to grieve for what's about to happen tomorrow. But after that, because we all have a right to do that, but after that, we have to figure out what our next steps are. I told Mike a story about a guy I saw on TikTok, a MAGA supporter, poor lonely guy, who always felt like his life, no one gave him anything and Trump was going to give him his life. The problem is that he never was taught what to do in a situation like that. When things go bad, and they do go bad, and I've been there, what you do is that you whine and you cry for about 10 minutes, and then you fucking figure out a plan. Because that's what's going to happen next. We're all going to whine and cry in the next few days, for the next week. We're going to watch all this shit. And then once I see what the shit is, then their plan's going to come out of it.
Listen,
The smart of us, the
people
rest
were
of us are going
whining
to
and
fight that
crying
way.
after the announcements came out early on election night, before even some of the states didn't even have 50% of the votes in yet. And we've been planning and talking and doing and saying, and nothing has changed. So the mourning has already taken place. People have already felt the fear. People have stayed in bed and cried. People have gone to work like zombies. We are already at step 10 past all of that. This is at the desperation stage. People are at the point now where we don't see a single leader. I mean, not single meaning one out of many. I mean, a singular person leading us that's saying, I am going to take the reins and we are going to do these things. You've got a lot of
Fuck
people
that.
on the internet saying they want to do things, and there were protests and all that. And what good is any of that? SCOTUS gave their opinion on Friday. They're upholding the ban. They are not getting involved. There is nothing that anyone is doing that is giving people focus on what can actually be done. Even our politicians. Now you've got politicians now, hypocrites, who wrote the bill with Ed Markey, who are the same ones who were not only on TikTok and used it to help themselves get elected the first time or reelected. And now they're now jumping in and wanting to take credit, like they've done something good with this bill with Ed Markey to undo the damage that they did, the very damage that
Yeah.
they caused, right? And so they want us to be what? Happy about them now? We want to suddenly hold them up as some kind of hero or example of what's to be done. What were you doing? Why did it take this? And now you want to try to go out looking like you're a hero when you know the efforts you put out now may be the last thing we remember about this whole ban, but it is too late. Too little, too late. There is such a thing as you waited too long. I think you made a reference to the fire situation. There comes a point where you
Yes.
can keep throwing water on it and it's just going to keep smoldering, and it's going to keep smoldering, and it may reignite and it may be out and you're not sure, and you're going to be stressed until I don't know how long it takes for it to be out for real. We're past that
Joanne,
period.
Joanne, I'm going to say something to you. I've never said to anybody,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
including my wife. No, I'm going to say something to you that I've never said to anybody, including my wife. I understand everything you said, and I agree with everything you said. I've
Holy
never
shit.
done that before.
Well,
No, it's true.
I feel honored. I feel honored. And honored only, I don't want to be right. And I say this a lot in conversation with people. I do not want to be right. I would eat my words. I would go on a stage in front of 100,000 people and say I was wrong a million times over. But the problem is we have seen the evidence. So it's not that I'm right. There's other people that feel the way I feel too. It's that the evidence has proven it to be true. It has proven itself out. Proof of concept. The concept that we thought they were going to come and do the right thing, meaning the Democrats, and they were going to stand up for the people, that they were going to stick their necks out, they're going to put their careers on the line, is a fantasy. They never have done it in the last 40 years. They're never going to do it. And I got to tell you, this may seem like a small thing, but insult to injury is that recording of Obama having more than 2 words with Trump at the funeral infuriated people based on the principle alone, the moral principle alone. He could have nodded. He could have turned away. Look, I've talked to people that I didn't want to talk to, and I gave them the least amount of my attention as possible. And if you know how to get out of a conversation like that, you don't speak when the person's speaking. You let them say whatever, and you don't encourage additional conversation, right? You don't
Right,
laugh,
I
you don't
agree.
smile, you don't do anything. You just let it die wherever they say their thing, and you let it die. And that's not what we saw. And I'm going to tell you, that made some people's blood boil. That made some
Well,
people's blood boil.
Well, the difference here was, well, I think why it upset people, why it bothered me is that, if it was just a Republican sitting next to a Democrat and they smiled at each other and they'd been adversaries in other situations, that's one thing. That's
Right. If
just
they were
being
just
polite.
cordial.
But what Donald Trump is doing is try to take down democracy, damage this country,
That's
injure
right.
people, kill people.
That's right.
And I don't care. There is no reason to be polite in that situation.
No,
And that's why
none.
I'm not polite to any Trumplefucks right now.
None. I mean, you don't have to be overtly rude, but you can ignore them. And that's what he could have done. They are not currently political rivals. Obama is no longer in the political forum any longer. Whatever little influence he thought he still had and he tried to give to Kamala didn't work. So we know that's a dead dog. So the idea that he needed to do anything nice to discuss anything, three words come out of his mouth to Trump, and it was more than three. It was an insult to the Democratic Party and to the people that supported him. And he definitely made people furious with that action, because all that did was tell people that no matter what you said, and I have the videotape that I saved of his speech, that he said all the things that Trump was going to be doing and that we should be upset about it. And that's why you need to vote blue. And then he sits near the very same person who is going to commit these atrocities against the American people. And you have not just a smile, not just a nod, but an actual conversation. And like I said, that's taking a small thing and making a big point out of it. But I think that amplified for me what the Democratic Party has done to us this entire time. And we've had it with them now. I think that the Democratic Party is in deep trouble.
I think so too. And Joanne, thank you for coming on. You always bring good points. I'm happy to hear what you have to say because we are in agreement in most things. And I really like people who agree with me. I don't know what it is. It's weird. It's weird. But Joanne, thanks very much. And if we have the opportunity again to be on a live here on TikTok, I hope you'll join us again. If nothing else, join us on the podcast. Just send me because the podcast will continue on. Just
Yes.
send me a email at rationalboomer@gmail.com and we'll hook it up.
Yeah, I'll see you over there when this is gone dark.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Will was talking about the prospect of watching cat and dog videos during the inauguration. I have somebody out here that has maybe even a better idea, which would really get under the skin of Donald Trump. I think it's Rock Rogue. She's saying, we're watching Obama's inauguration on Monday via YouTube. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I like that idea because that would piss him off even more than dog and kitty videos.
Not a bad idea.
Well, I heard.
Yeah, I just want to affect the numbers, the real numbers for Midas Touch. Because the idea is that if they have more viewers than Fox, that tells you who was watching what. And that's what I want to see.
Well,
It'd be hilarious.
I heard
Yeah,
Anarchy.
absolutely.
I heard Anarchy Princess is going to blow her whistle and ring her bell down at the inauguration. Just saying.
Weren't
Nice.
you showing up with
Nice.
bagpipes?
Oh, that's not in the realm of possibilities. Like I might be able to talk. Well, I have to borrow them, but like I might be able to do that. That's a good idea. I forgot that I said that.
That's the only reason I was going to watch. So if you're not going to be there with bagpipes, I'm not watching.
God damn it! That's going to
Yeah.
change
It's
everything.
not outside, so it won't matter anymore.
They might
Nothing
not let me-
matters.
They might not let me own bagpipes though. That's the only thing.
Well, it would be nice, but I'm going to pull somebody else in here. We'll see how this one goes. It's been a bag of tricks out here. Little Farm One, are you there?
Oh my God, I am a fan. I cannot believe I'm talking to you.
Thank you.
Lifetime.
Welcome.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm a little starstruck.
Oh, please.
I'm so serious.
Little
I
Farm,
just-
how old are you?
I'm 47.
How old are you? 47. I wish
from
my third.
Ohio.
I wish my 37-year-old son and my 31-year-old son gave a shit if I was in the room. So I appreciate your kind words.
I thank you. I'm literally blushing. Oh my God. I watch all your videos. I always love them and comment and share them to my father, who's also a boomer. And he's
All
like, oh
right.
my God, I love this guy. But I wanted to kind of ask a question and piggyback off
Sure.
of the last guest. She is 1000% correct.
I
However,
agree.
I will say it will happen like that, not only with the Democrats, but also with the Republicans. Well, MAGA. I think it will take a second term for them to see. The Democrats, they are weak, and they did show us that they're not going to come for us. They're not going to help us. But on the other side, it will take this term for MAGA to see the same thing we are now seeing. And it will crash and burn both ways. Now, here's my important question. Like the last guest said, we had evidence piling up to the ceiling. Why did Biden extend that executive order if he was not going to do anything with it? Is it because he can't do anything with it?
Well, he's done a lot of executive orders that seemingly will get thrown out as soon as Donald Trump gets in, and that is curious. I don't know why you would waste the time to do that. That doesn't make any sense unless he's trying to make a point. I don't know. Anybody else?
Well, I thought that whole executive order was about foreign people anyway, like targeting foreign countries, foreign nationals, things like that. And they came out not long after he extended the executive order, and they put sanctions on, what was it, Iran and somebody else.
This
Russia.
executive order was
Russia.
Trump's executive order, and it spoke
It
about
was.
insurrection.
Well, the
It
executive
spoke
order
about
that
the
we're talking
14th
about,
Amendment.
the 13848, was on election interference from foreign countries, but it was all about, and that's the one that he extended, and that was about
It was
being able
about
to put sanctions on foreign countries that interfered in our elections. And then they turned around and put sanctions on. So he did use
Okay.
it.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
That was my
what
question.
what I've said before too is if there was something happening, and I'm not convinced there were, that might be one step in the process. You've got to establish the meddling from the outside, and if there are people connected on the inside, that's where the 14th Amendment would come up. You couldn't get rid of Donald Trump because of that executive order, but combined with something else, the 14th Amendment or something, presumably that's where they would get something done. I would presume we would hear something by now if something actually was going to get done. And as Joanne said, and as I've said, I don't trust the Democrats to be strong in any situation. I'd love for them to be. I'd love for them to just do something to delay it or throw a fly in the ointment. But we haven't seen them do that as yet. So I don't know that we can count on them.
I don't think it's coming. I think we are all correct. We have to move forward and come up with a plan ourselves. But it is an insult to injury that the only way we have created community, because I am one who went to work as
Yeah.
a zombie, like she said. The only way we had created this community kind of group is through TikTok, and they have now took that. So I will look for you on YouTube. Will you be at National Boomer on YouTube?
Rational Boomer, yeah, yeah, I'm
Yes.
on there. All the TikToks are on there. The podcasts are on there. I can do lives on YouTube too. I've done a few that's different than this. It's not quite as hectic, but I'm not going to shut up. I'll tell you this, Little Farm. I still don't think TikTok's going to go away. Something's going to happen. It's too much. People are probably scurrying around shitting themselves right now because they know if they shut this down, every member of the House, every member of the Senate, Joe Biden for that matter, and Donald Trump are freaking out because this is going to take a lot of money off the table and piss off a lot of people. People always say, I want you to understand something. They say 170 million people on this app, and they say that's half this country. But it's a bigger
70
percentage
million
than that.
people in America on this app.
Right.
it's billions.
170 million people in America. But it's not half of the country. It's actually more than that because you've got children in that 340 million. You've got people that are incapable of using technology or whatever. It's a high percentage of this country that
Right.
use this app one way or another. and it's going to cause a shitstorm for anybody's responsible for making it go dark.
Not to mention the billions of dollars in commerce that is made.
Absolutely.
True.
They don't. Those greedy fucks don't leave that on the table.
I agree. This
Yeah,
is
for
the
sure.
One thing,
even unite.
one thing I want to address is the post-election stuff. A lot of that was, and I'm going to say this, a lot of that was an invention of a lot of people hoping for stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
the election was a gut punch, and I understand that because I didn't think Americans would do what they did, and I will stand by misogyny and racism till the day I die. What happened, but all this we heard, all these things were manufactured, all these things were coming up, and this and that. Look, I get it. I mean, honestly, I was hoping for a McDonald's heart attack, personally. I thought that was more realistic than I thought that was more of a chance of that than all these other things, these conspiracy things people were coming up with. Because the one thing Joe Biden is old school. Kamala Harris is saying they're going to do the transition of power because they know that's constitutional. Are they handed over to a traitor? Yes, but they're going to still follow the Constitution. And this was what some of the consternation I'm hearing. What I'm still not happy with is the Democrats not standing up and doing what Mitch McConnell did when Obama came into office and saying, we're not going to let him get away with anything. That's my biggest concern. But all this leading up to and all the things we're talking about, look, guys, I have like a good fantasy too. And that's not what's going to happen. Now we got to find out what he's going to do and then address it. We're going to address it with or without TikTok, because none of us is going to give up. Because a lot of this shit is going to affect us personally. So that's the thing I'm saying. The fantasy is over. Reality's here. Now we got to figure out how to fight.
Mr. Boomer,
I
if
don't
I can, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to say this really fast because I'll drop down. My mother's in the next room, so I don't want to be loud. But I will say, above me, 1,000%. We can go and figure out 100 ways why she lost. But we have to understand and remember, she had 100 days and she was still within striking distance at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I don't fault her at all.
Yeah.
You know, she was trying everything, you know what I'm saying? And she still could have gotten there. I didn't want Joe Biden is my forever president. I'm sorry. He just is. He's my favorite. Him and JFK. Yeah. I did not want him to drop. But when he did, it was a little too late. We can say she should have did this, she should have did that. She didn't do this right. But the woman got the ball in the fourth quarter with a 2-minute drill. And she broke even on the popular vote. And that's the fact of the matter. And misogyny and racism will always play a part in that. I don't care if she had Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney and her father on the stage. It was character on that ballot. We knew the difference.
And the sad thing about it is she didn't get beat by Donald Trump. She got beat by the fucking Democrats who didn't come out and vote. That's what pisses me off.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, how is Jill Stein working for you guys? You progressive lefts? How is if the ceasefire that you were going to say that Trump's going to bring? How's that working for you?
Or Cornel West? How's Cornel West?
Yeah, Cornel. Where are you guys? And the thing about it is that's the way. And I've seen this before. Jimmy Carter got done by John. What was his name? It got done by Ralph Nader and another third party. I remember that election. It's the same shit. You guys live in a fucking fantasy world. Because you know why? Because it won't affect you. It'll affect us. You fucking latte liberals, and I'll die on that hill too.
I'm with you. But listen, I'll drop down. I'll find you on YouTube. I'm your #1 fan. So
I appreciate that. And if you've annoyed, how old's your mom?
My mom is 74.
74. She's a little older than me, but if we pissed her off by getting you too loud, just say
she's not.
Send an email to Boomer and he'll talk to you. We can talk about high school or some shit.
They have to fight TJ for the #1 fan spot.
Yes. Hey guys, listen. Let's keep up the fight. Let's move as one, as a unit. Let's keep up.
Yes,
the fight,
ma'am.
guys.
Thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate it,
you.
and I hope to talk to you again. If you ever want to come on the show, the podcast, just email me at
Absolutely.
rationalboomer@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. See you later.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Just in case anyone's wondering, Eric's not wearing pants.
Here we go again. Thanks, DJ.
Eric, you are wearing pants, right? Please tell me you're wearing pants.
Sure.
No, he's not.
Well, I will just say, at least Eric's on camera. TJ, Rebecca, and Binder Will aren't on camera, so
I
God knows
can't.
what they're wearing.
Pants.
Mike, I would. If I
I,
could get 1,000 followers, I would. I swear to
I
God.
have like 200 followers.
Okay,
I
okay.
could do it, but I
I
just don't want to do it.
I have a feeling Will is wearing a grass skirt and coconut top.
No, he's
Yes.
wearing, no,
Yes.
he's wearing a smoking
is.
jacket
I will tell you.
Mike is
I
right
would
about
tell you-
that.
shirt.
I would tell you because, and you've seen the way I look on the podcast. When we went to Hawaii, my wife and for my brother's wedding,
Here
we
we
drove
go.
around the island. I was confused. People kept looking at me, going, "How's it going, brother? How's it going?" They were speaking to me. They thought I was Hawaiian. One guy thought I
Yeah.
was Samoan. So I'm like going, "Cool." I'm going, they're all looking. Take it easy, brother. Cool. I'm good.
All I
No.
all I ever get is people think I'm a Trump humper. I got somebody else here, Phoenix Rising. Hey, Phoenix, how you doing?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. How are you doing? What's on your mind?
I am well. Good evening, everyone. Um, I was listening to one of your guests, and they go off on the people who voted third party or people who didn't vote
Hmm.
at all. And I wanted to just say that we as Americans tend to, or our politicians have us conditioned to believe that we owe them something. And the reality is the politician has the responsibility to earn your vote. A lot
Well,
of
that's
people
true,
did
but you,
a lot of people did not vote because the world is bigger than just us. Not that I agree with the outcome, because I do not, especially as a woman of color. Of course, I do not. But we've been in an unaliving campaign that was fully funded by this country that a lot of people were watching live. It's not like 1990s when we went to school or we saw in the news that there was a WAR. People have been watching how the injustice and the imbalance is happening right here in this country. People have been suffering financially, and the stock market is not a direct reflection about how people are living with feet on the ground in the real world.
I agree.
Almost
Right.
everyone I
Agreed.
know has two
Which is the
jobs.
reason to
I
go
know
out and
people who
vote.
are active military who are on food stamps. You mean to tell me that you can be active military and your family, you can't afford to feed them, that you literally have an income that meets the below poverty line so that you are eligible for food stamps? We don't punch up, we punch sideways and down. We have to
Right.
get together and tell the people who's supposed to serve us that they need to do their job. You notice that they didn't have a problem passing a bill to increase their salary. They didn't have an
Right.
issue making sure that they're taken care of. We need to hold them to a different standard. We need to press them on getting the same medical coverage that the average American has. We need to make sure that when they don't pass bills in time, they don't get checks, not just cut off federal workers who are just average people, most of them just regular people with families. And they're
Right.
working, living paycheck to paycheck. And it's not just inflation. And we would be ignorant to even argue that. But the reality is there has been extreme price gouging. And even though the president doesn't have full power because it's not a kingship, understand that he did have the power to say, we will raise your taxes. He had the power to try to negotiate in real time because they are relying on us. That's why when COVID took place, they wanted people to go back to work because we make money for them. And if we don't realize who we are collectively, then we are always going to lose. And it's not left against right. It's not black against white. It's us against them, and we are not in that club. Like George Carlin said, if anybody hasn't seen it, it's very old. My father played it when I was a little girl, and you can see it has not changed. And he warned us all the way back then that they're coming for your Social Security. And if anybody thinks Social Security is about to lose money, They are liars. Understand that Social Security has over $2.3 trillion right now. That's why they want access to it. As long as people continue to work and they continue to charge your tax roll, your paycheck, out of your paycheck it comes, you are continuously funding it. When they give you an argument that there's not going to be Social Security, that means there's not going to be anybody working. Understand that even foreigners get an ITIN, which is a tax ID number where they are taxed. Even when you see them up on roofs and they work for companies, the companies have to pay a tax for them. That tax goes into our funding. They are not entitled to it because you have to be documented to get it. A lot of people don't know how the government works. I'm so sick of ignorant Americans and people that just watch Newsmax and Fox on Loops and CNN and MSNBC and they don't do their homework. We have to really get educated. We have to start talking to one another, respecting one another. I don't care if you're part of the Green Party or anything else. People do have morals, and people weren't obligated to come out and vote for Kamala, who nobody really liked to begin with. I didn't care for her, but I didn't have a problem voting for her. And I'm not a Democrat, nor am I a Republican, but I am an American, and I represent a lot of America. Nobody's entitled to someone else's vote. Put fire to the feet of these politicians and let them know
But
they serve us. That's what
but I
that's
will
what I
say
wanted to
this.
voice.
But I will say this is that we had on November 5th a clear choice. Like Biden or not, he had the economy going the right way. He was moving away from trickle down economics. It was his goal. Kamala Harris had a very detailed plan to help everybody. The problem is, if you did not vote because you thought you can make a protest for something other than that, you were wrong. You will change the system, but you're not going to change the system under someone like Donald Trump and an oligarchy. We had an opportunity on November 5th to move the right way. Many people chose not to do it and walked away from their responsibility to
There
make a
is
change.
you are not a part of changing the system if you did not vote.
This is
Well,
not about whether somebody voted or not or who they voted for. You think you missed the point that I made. You say that there was a clear choice. You're sitting in a position of privilege as an American, as a male. Understand that it wasn't a clear choice for people who are Palestinian. It wasn't a clear choice for people of color always. It wasn't a clear choice for people who cared more about their dignity, the fact that we have to have respect, the fact that we have
No.
to value lives. It's not just that clear, that clean, or that simple. It's not just about money. I think you failed to hear the first part I said.
No, I'm
We have
not
been on
talking
a
about money,
campaign
ma'am.
over 45,000 unalived, and we watched it happen.
No,
We
I'm not
watched
playing
it
that game.
happen.
I am not playing that game. I
We're not
refuse
playing a game at
because
all. I made
it's
a point.
worse now. Donald Trump wants to bomb Gaza out of existence.
Listen,
That's a
I'm not for
lie.
him. I'm
And
not
this
for him.
protest vote
This is
brought the
not
worst
this or
into
that.
us. And
Okay,
I am a
listen to what
person
I
of
said.
color, a person
Listen
of
to what I
color
said.
who understands this.
Listen to what I said. Listen to what I said, not the argument you have in your mind already, because I was not for him. I just do understand the nuance and I understand the issue fully. And I'm not even arguing my personal position on it. I'm telling you what I have observed in the fact that we as Americans have to get out of this idea that we can look at things just from our own personal point of position or privilege. I have a roof over my head. I'm not homeless, but plenty of people are still homeless and living out of their cars to the point that we've made it normal where people make videos about living out of their car and how they can turn their chairs into beds. This is the reality for a lot of Americans. Do you know that we are a very rich third world country, that there are still places in the United States that don't have proper indoor plumbing? There are places in the United States that still don't have clean running water. It was just reported, last week, West Virginia didn't have water. Some areas still don't have water. But we don't talk about these things. This is the reality for people living in this country. Everybody is not
Which we could
privileged.
have changed on November 5th, but now you got Donald Trump, whose only goal is to give the rich even bigger tax cuts. I understand your point, ma'am.
Exactly.
I get it. I've heard that for years. The war on poverty, all of it. I get it. But understand,
No,
by
we don't get it
rejecting
until we do
Kamala
something
Harris,
about it.
no, ma'am,
let me
I
let, let,
want something to do something about it. I did.
let me just say something here. I've talked about this before. I understand the problems in this country. I've talked to many millennials and Gen Zs. This country has failed the young people, and it's ultimately going to affect the economy because the young people will carry the economy coming up pretty soon. They can't afford, they aren't getting paid enough. They can't afford houses. They can't afford cars. They can't afford discretionary things. And that's going to fuck up their lives and it's going to fuck up the economy. And nobody has any foresight. And I understand the Democrats are as culpable for that as anybody. I get that. But here's the thing. You got Donald Trump doing what he's doing, and you know how much damage he's going to do, not only to people in this country, but around the world. You know he's going to do that. We know that for a fact. Kamala Harris may not have been the answer to what the progressive left is looking for. She probably wasn't the answer. She wasn't even necessarily the answer I wanted. But if you don't if you vote Kamala in, at least you have a chance to head down that road. If you don't vote and get Donald Trump in, that road will never appear. You'll never have that opportunity. So what you did is you basically shut down the opportunities because you wanted what you wanted right now. I want what we want right now, but that's not in the cards. That's not how it plays out. We got to get on the right track. We are now on a wrong track because a lot of people didn't vote. Yes, I believe people should have to earn votes, but at this point you have to make the right choice, not the best choice. The right choice is to put us on track and then fight against Democrats to get them to do what we got to do. We can't get everything we want right now in every election. It doesn't happen. And if you make the wrong choice, now we're headed down the wrong road. And at best, 4 years from now, we can try to correct it. At least with Kamala Harris, we could have been on the right road and tried to pressure them to do the things that they aren't doing that they should do.
It was always a
I
case of
agree with you.
conscience. It's the voting for the lesser of the evils in your conscience.
Two
If
evils,
you
yeah.
were not
Unfortunately,
100%
yeah.
one way or another, you have to vote for what is you feel is in your best interest.
Understand that I understand your point and I don't disagree with you. I'm just making the statement that there are other points here. And also, when she did her campaign, she avoided addressing those difficult issues. That's why she didn't carry Michigan. That's why she didn't carry certain areas. Trump, even though he was disingenuous, even though they were not sincere, he literally had a campaign talking directly to the people there in those areas. He had a campaign going out pretending that he cared. The fact that you look people in their face and you say, I expect your vote, and you don't even speak to them where their needs are, that was a fumble on the part of the Democratic Party, her team. This is what they did. And if we were
Oh,
watching this in real time, you have to understand that it pretty much was an insult to those people, saying that I don't
No,
value your vote enough to speak to you directly.
no,
And I'm not one of those people, but I saw it happen. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't see it happen.
I don't
It
think
did
anybody
happen.
disagrees with
no.
you that
She
we.
did address it. They slapped her in the face. They kept calling that she's part of the genocide. I heard them. They didn't
Excuse
believe
me,
her.
did
They
you
didn't
hear what
want
I
to
said?
hear
He had
her.
a campaign on the ground. They sent out mailings to
I
them
know what he
directly.
No,
did. He
And
lied
the
to them.
Exactly, he
yes, he
did,
did
but
lie.
understand, he did, but he was doing what politicians do. He was at
Oh,
least saying,
okay.
I
So that's
see
good.
you. And that was a part of the campaign. And the people are not as savvy and they're
Whatever.
not as educated, just like people who are living in the Red Belt, people who live in Mississippi, and people who live in Virginia that have 3 teeth in their mouth, that can't afford to go to the dentist and can't afford to feed themselves, will vote for the Republican who doesn't care about them at all and always votes to cut their benefits. And they are the majority of people getting state aid. You just understand that there is a disconnect between what people feel and what it is that they know or think. And if you're in this realm and you want something from the people, you have to speak to them where they are. Obviously an educated man. I'm an educated woman. I understand when you say, oh, voting for the least of both evils. But then there are people who say, you know what? I'm always at the bottom. I'm always being dogged out. If I'm going to be hurting anyway, you're going to hurt with me so that you understand you have a dog in this fight. There are people who will
That's
go and vote for the best candidate because it's going to suit you. Your life is not going to change the very next day, okay? And you're going to be able to keep going on like status quo. And then these people get into office, and usually I'm talking about the Democrats. They get into office and they tickle you a little bit. They give you just a little bit. Like Biden, when he got in, he made a lot of promises. Did he fulfill some of them? Yes. But then at the end, he wanted to roll out more student loan forgiveness. And then they had us arguing with one another about crumbs. While meanwhile, these people had PPP loans that they fully forgave in our face. And we didn't, it barely blipped
That wasn't under
because
Biden.
no, understand. I'm trying to explain to you the psyche of the American people. They had us
So you
fighting.
basically
They
can't
had
fix
us fighting
stupid.
over student loan forgiveness, right? But it just followed the PPP loans that were forgiven, and it barely made a blip on the screen. We weren't out here fighting, talking about why these millionaires and people with big businesses getting forgiven for PPP loans that they really didn't need to begin with. Where was the pushback on that?
Well,
But it
not
was
all
night
not
after
all
night.
PPP loans were for big businesses. We
I
got my
understand
business
that.
got
I
PPP
said
loans, and
for
we're a
the
small
ones who
company.
got big business, a lot of them went to people with big businesses and they forgave
I get
themselves
that,
and
but
their
not all
crony
PPP
friends.
loans were for big business.
Did I say that?
All right,
What is the problem? We speak in English here. I didn't say all of them. I said for
Whoa,
the
whoa, whoa,
ones
whoa,
who
whoa,
were
whoa. No,
multimillionaires
don't go
were
there.
forgiven. The ones who were
hold
Don't
on a
go
second.
there.
multimillionaires and were forgiven.
Everybody, just hold on a second. I think what Phoenix is saying is something I've said all along. Our problem, first of all, isn't Democrat and Republican. It's class. It's the wealthy against the rest of us. That's what it is. The other thing you're talking about is what I've said all along, and it's not as nice as you're saying it. But we have an epidemic in this country of fucking stupid people who are misinformed, ill-informed, disinformed, don't pay attention, don't read anything. They're told something in the media and they believe it at face value. We have a problem in this country that a lot of people don't understand. I know what you're saying is that people are struggling and they look at the Democrats as culpable. And they're right. They are culpable. But at some point, you got to make some progress instead of sitting there with your arms crossed saying, I'm not going to do anything. I got a 4-year-old granddaughter that does that. You know what? I let her fucking sit. I let her sit until she decides, well, this isn't a good move. We've got to make some progress in this country, and we've got big problems. We've got a dumpster fire with the Republicans, and we've got big problems with the Democrats. I've always said that. But we have to start getting out of the hole. We'll never get out of the hole as long as Donald Trump is in charge. I understand the psyche of the people, but we've got to do something as a people to get people better informed. And when you've got the media working against all of us by misinforming us or not informing us about certain things, we've got a lot of problems. But understand why we're in this situation, Phoenix and everybody else. We are in this situation not because of politicians. We are in this situation for decades and decades. We've been apathetic and said, let the government handle it. We don't care. We don't want to talk about this stuff. It's too hard, or it's too depressing. That's why we're here. Why we're here right now is our fault. So it's going to have to be on us to fix this fucking thing.
Right,
We
Mike, but
have
how do we
two
fix it?
par- Well,
Because our
all-
message, like we're on TikTok and we do what we do and you do what you do. And how do you reach, because TikTok has an algorithm and we only reach the
Yeah.
people we reach. So how do you reach
Well,
the
it's-
people that really need it?
don't make TikTok any stronger than it really is. It's not about the app; it's about the people and actually stepping up and doing something. Understand what we've done as a country is we've raised two spoiled fucking brat kids, which are the parties. They get away with everything, and we just let them do it. So now we've got to change our attitude, and we got to start speaking out. It doesn't have to be on TikTok. It could be other social media. It could be a people in your neighborhood. We've got to bring the noise up. That's what the Republicans have done. They've carried the narrative. They've talked loud, and people buy into it because people are largely ill-informed, misinformed, or just flat out dumb. It's unfortunate. I hate to say that about the country, but we've proven that to be correct. We've got to talk loud. It sounds like a Hail Mary pass, and it kind of is. But this is where we are. We got to do something. We can't curl up in a corner and die. We got to start talking, whether I'm doing it on TikTok or YouTube or out in a fucking alleyway. I don't care. I'm going to be talking, and everybody has to be on task and fighting against this. We're not in a political argument here. We are in a war. And in a war, we need warriors. And if you're not a warrior, you're really of no use to us.
I totally agree with that, but how do we get the message to the right people? Because the
You're doing
people
it
that
right
we
Keep
now.
need to
talking.
reach, I
There's
agree. I
no,
agree.
there's,
No, that's not true though, because the people that we need to reach aren't watching this. The people we need to reach aren't gonna see our message. So how do we do
Okay,
that?
Rebecca, here's the deal. I knew that from the beginning that I wasn't necessarily going to reach the people that I should be trying to change their minds, but I quickly realized I'm never going to change their minds. They are ignorant of the situation. They are stuck in this cult situation. So instead, what we do, we have to rally the people of a like mind. And that was the intent I did when I went on Rational Boomer. And now here's a 64-year-old dumb fuck sitting in his living room, but yet I have 425,000 followers. If nothing else, I've pulled together some people of a like mind and given them a voice, given Phoenix a voice, given Joanna a voice, all you guys a voice. This all helps. I can't fix everything. You can't fix everything. That's why everybody has to get involved.
Yeah, one of the things, as far as reaching people, doing this, even though I think what Rebecca's saying is, how do we get to the people who might be swayed if they're not searching for our stuff? We have to hope the TikTok algorithm gets there and gets it to them, in part. But like you said, we got to keep talking anywhere we can. Share creators with people you think might listen. But I think one of the things that could go forward, I've been talking about it a lot, is what the Democrats need to do to counter whatever's going on. And I think this hits with what a lot of people have been talking about, is people are swayed by what hits them in the pocketbook the most. And they need to go back to focus on an FDR style New Deal approach for everybody, just revitalize the whole system again. Bring it back up, make it work like it's supposed to. Minimum wage that funds enough to comfortably live, not $7.25 like what's his name thinks is livable.
yeah, I know.
Making
If
sure
everybody talked about the minimum wage, and the vast majority wanted the minimum wage, and we shoved it down their throat, they'd have to address it. But we don't
Yeah,
do
but
that.
Eric,
That's the problem.
remember that the New Deal came out of a total collapse of the economy, and that also FDR had a mandate with Congress. He had both houses. We don't have that. And it's
no.
going to take an entire second collapse of everything in order to get back to that.
But
And the problem is that the trickle down economics theory is still holding solid because those on top have got a lot of money. And like Mike said, the guy who they have for the Treasury Department, he's a billionaire. He don't give a fuck. He said
Yeah.
the biggest thing that's going to bring economic joy to the United States is keeping the tax cuts for billionaires that are going to run out this year. I mean, they do not live in our world. And sadly, going back to Mossy Cat, we may have to watch most of the house burn down, maybe to a foundation that we have to rebuild. Because it may get that far. I'm sorry. That's a hard thing to think of. That's where we're at.
but if it does
Yeah,
that,
we're almost to that point.
if it does that, and if the economy goes as bad as it could under Trump, now I'm thinking that ultimately Congress, they're kowtowing to him right now because he's not in office yet. Now they're going to start once he takes the oath of office, and they're starting to look toward re-election. There's going to be pushback. There's already been some pushback. But
Yeah,
if he
absolutely.
does damage the economy as bad as he potentially could, or even a fraction of it, and it's looking really bad, Democrats could run it on a New Deal style platform because they burned the economy down. And looking at history, I've talked about it a lot on these lives. When FDR came in after Hoover, when Hoover did nothing when the stock market crashed.
Yes.
He said the economy will take care of itself, and basically said trickle down economics without saying trickle down economics.
No,
And
he was old school He was old school economics. That it would fix itself eventually.
right, right,
Keynesian economics is what came later with FDR, where the government got involved.
right.
That's the
Well,
difference.
well, but then when FDR got involved, because they started to fix it for the lower and the middle classes, and they were building the economy, as Biden says a lot, from the bottom up and the middle out. Democrats held the presidency and Congress for 20 years.
Yep.
They could do it again if they get the right people
Yeah.
in place to want to do it, and everybody would prosper.
The Democrats have to bring up their game, though. They
Oh, yeah.
have been stepping on their own dick for a long time, and they got to bring up the game. And they shouldn't look at this as a problem. They should look at this as an opportunity. And the only way they're going to jump on that opportunity is if the old people step aside. The young people are fighting for their
Right.
lives because the future is theirs and not Nancy Pelosi's or Chuck Schumer's. We've got to
Right.
let these people do what they need to do to protect themselves in the future because old people have not been able to do it for them. And Phoenix is right. The economy looks good from the upper level, but I know a lot of millennials and Gen Z is struggling, and that should not be the case. And the only reason they're struggling is because of greedy fucking oligarchs who don't want to pay a reasonable amount of salary. And by doing that, they're killing themselves because the economy will take a shit. But they don't have the foresight to see that. And that's what's frustrating. They're not only kicking our ass, but they're going to kick their own ass ultimately. And if it means we have to wait for a crash, I'd hate to see that. People should be smarter than that, but maybe that's what it takes.
Well, one of the things going with it, yeah, people should have been smarter, but it's probably gonna hurt us. But they keep saying
Yeah.
they want to go back to make America great again. And when you hear kind of what they were talking about, there's generalization, the racism and that part of it aside, is they want basically what was built on the backs of the New Deal and World War II, when the middle
Right.
class,
Exactly.
lower middle classes were around and they were thriving. But that was at a time
Yeah.
when we taxed the rich at 90+%. They don't understand. You can't get to that level
They don't want
and
that
cut,
part though.
and cut the top end tax rate again. You know, and I'm talking about the MAGA voters that are wrapped up in that idea of making it great. If we could fund so much if we went back to that kind of a tax rate. You fund people like Musk at 97% on all income and not allow them to use stock options and other things to hide big chunks of money, we'd probably have no debt in 10
Yeah,
years.
well,
And we'd be able to fund
trickle
everything.
down. The voodoo economics took a hold. The trickle down was sold. Biden was trying to unwrap it the best he can. Now we're not going to. It's going to get worse. And again, I hate the idea of watching it burn, but in order to get back to that, it may have to. And I don't like it because it could affect all of us. It's going to affect a lot of people. And you don't. And the problem with that, when things like that happen, one or two things either happen. You either get a New Deal, or you get really true fascism. Those are the two choices that usually come out of an economic collapse.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm gonna wrap things up here. We've been here for an hour, almost an hour and 50 minutes. That's enough of me for a lot of people, and frankly, it's enough of you guys for me. So,
Yeah, okay, I got you, brother.
because I did a podcast with Ed this morning for about an hour and a half too. So, I gotta go look at some
Have we
cat and
worn
puppy.
you out, Mike?
Yeah, well, you warned me out. I got to go look at some cat and puppy videos for a while just to straighten
Yes.
my mind out.
Yeah, I just got a
Anyway,
little
I want to thank you.
puppy.
I want to thank you guys for coming on and helping me out here. I want to thank all the people that came on and gave some great insight. I appreciate it. I've said it before. The reason I have guests on because they make me look smarter and they make the presentation better. So I appreciate it immensely. Those that were listening. I just want to tell you, if TikTok is shut down by the time you hear this on the podcast, go to YouTube, go to Blue Sky, go to Substack, go to even Lemonade at that point. I put all the same videos there, and everybody has other options. So seek the people out you like and keep supporting them, because it's important, not for me or any of the other creators. It's important that we all stay together one way or another and keep pushing the same message out. It may not seem like enough, but
Exactly.
it's what we can do, so we need to do it. Anyway, thanks all you guys. Thanks everybody for listening. I hope you have a great day. I hope TikTok isn't banned by the time you hear this on the podcast. But either way, I'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Mike.
See you